We were approached by a producer who wanted to do some type of big disco multimedia thing out in the airplane hangar in Long Island, and approached Andy, about doing it. So we were, coming up with ideas, and we thought, well, we should have like a rock and roll group as part of our multimedia thing. And the search, or the somewhat of a, not really a search, but being open to finding a rock and roll group happened. And I guess Barbara Rubin had seen were they still called the Primitives at the time? I'm not sure. They were the Velvet Underground now. Had seen Barbara Rubin she was a filmmaker contemporary with everybody, and a very avant-garde person. She had, what was her movie? Christmas on Earth, I think, was her one big hit. And, it's a crass way to talk about it, but she was a pain in the ass anyway. Anyway, she said to Paul, I guess, you got to come down and see this group at the Cafe Bazaar. So I went down that night with Andy, and I have photographs that I did take at the event with Maureen Tucker on the drums, and it says Cafe Bazaar on the drums, or whatever it says. Andy and Undine dancing to the band playing. So I know I was there that night. I can't remember the event though. It's, it's like 40 years ago. And I was like 23, 24 years old. And I tell you, I'm 65 now, I mean, that's a long time ago, isn't it? I mean, to really not have melted all these memories is unusual for me, because I intentionally melt thought. I don't like to be burdened with thought. I'm a practicing Buddhist and a Patanjali yoga enthusiast, so I always want a clear mind. But you just find that this information of past experience is on rolls somewhere in your cosmic consciousness, and you just call on it and it starts unrolling like a player piano. So I remember exactly how I felt when the Velvets first came up to the factory, like the next day after we had seen them. And I was so delighted that John Cale was part of the group. And I remember telling Andy, I just have to let you know, with John Cale being part of this group, there's something that's going to be terrific about them. Because Andy knew who Lamont Young was, and even did a piece with him in the Lincoln Center Film Festival. We were making films, and Andy designed the poster for the first Lincoln Center Film Festival. And but they didn't invite us to put any films in. But they did have Andy put videos of some of his films on kiosks in the lobbies, and Lamont Young did the music to them. So Andy knew this part of the avant-garde as well as his previous commercial work area people. He was involved with the avant-garde too, simultaneously. So I was just, hopping up and down. Wow, John Cale's in this group, Andy. This is going to be great, And I had no idea they were going to be so really rock and roll. But they were really rock and roll, but they had this underlying avant-garde aesthetic that came from Cage and Lamont Young, and Cale being part of that mindset of the long tone. That long tone was the Cale gift to the Velvet Underground. I mean, Sterling Morrison wouldn't have brought that, Lou wouldn't have brought that, and Mo Tucker was now the drummer. She wouldn't have brought that, although she had this minimalist type thing too. But Cale gave the Velvet Underground that haunting undertone, the underground tone, which became it's almost, as you might say, its sound trademark, because all the crazy stuff that happens on that undertone and the feedback plays upon that undertone as its base. So there is an underground tone as the base of the whole craziness that the craziness sits on.